Day to all. I want to share my experience with an encanto who took a liking to me. I am Jen from Carmen, Cebu, Philippines. I am the fourth among 6 siblings. We are all girls, and I am the kindest. Just kidding. We are not rich, but we are not poor either. We get by, managing our daily needs. My father is a contractor, so he was rarely home because his job required him to travel to different places. My mother, on the other hand, stayed home to take care of us and sometimes harvested corn and sold goods to help with household expenses. Everything started when I was in my 2nd year of high school. That was also when I met a classmate whom we will call Novice. He became a close friend because he was very kind and sweet to me. Eventually, before the school year ended, he confessed his feelings for me. It was a Friday after school, at a small store where we often had snacks. That was when he told me how he felt and asked if he could court me. Of course, I agreed because, to be honest, I liked him too. But I told him I would only give him an answer when the next school year started. After that, while Novice was courting me, I began to feel strange things around me. It felt like someone was always following or watching me. I had that feeling all the time, especially when I was alone. Then the time came when I finally said yes to Novice. That was when the presence of this being became more frequent, as if he couldn't accept that I now had a boyfriend. Sometimes I would see a shadow pass by the corner of my vision, but when I turned to look, nothing was there. I chose to ignore it, and eventually I got used to it since it wasn't harming me or doing anything bad. So I just let it be. Fast forward to the time when I started feeling something strange in my body. It was also the first night of Simbang Gabi, Christmas dawn mass. My cousins, my boyfriend, and I attended the mass, but every time I went to church, I felt different. I would feel feverish and cold, but I couldn't understand why. It always happened when I was inside the church, but once I got home, I felt perfectly fine again. It kept happening every time I went to church, so I often told my boyfriend that we should just go home because I wasn't feeling well. Even he found it strange, saying that something seemed off with me. But since I didn't believe in such things back then, I just ignored it. Then, when April came, that was when the encanto started tormenting me. Every day at exactly 3 in the afternoon, an intense pain would start in my feet and legs, as if a huge rock was weighing them down. I would cry and scream in pain whenever my legs and feet moved, even slightly. I experienced this every day at exactly 3 in the afternoon. But by morning, everything would return to normal as if nothing had happened. That was when I first saw the being. Occasionally, he would appear. He was extremely handsome, like a supermodel. He was tall, well-built, had a sharp nose, deep, captivating eyes, and red lips. But despite his good looks, I was still terrified because he suddenly appeared right in front of me. He sat on my legs while telling me that he would soon take me with him. That was what he always said whenever he appeared to me. I was hospitalized several times, but the results showed no findings. The doctors and nurses were puzzled because everything seemed normal, yet they could see me suffering from the unbearable pain in my legs and feet. As a result, they prescribed me high-dosage pain relievers, but they had no effect. I endured this pain for a whole month. That was my situation until my father decided to take me to a relative who was said to have knowledge of traditional healing. According to the healer, I had been nabuyagan, which in Tagalog means nanuno, cursed or affected by a supernatural being. He rubbed oil on my legs and massaged them while chanting prayers, but nothing changed. I still felt the same way. However, my parents didn't give up on me. They kept searching for a skilled healer in our area. Eventually, someone told my parents about a well-known healer who lived in the mountains and only came down to treat people on Tuesdays and Fridays. Without hesitation, my parents and I went to see him. The moment we stepped into his house, the healer immediately said,
"Oh, you brought someone with you who is not one of us."
My mother replied,
"But there are only 3 of us here."
The healer answered,
"He won't let you go so easily. He has been waiting for this moment for a long time. But don't worry, there's one more ritual offering we can try. This offering is something they cannot refuse. You need to find a black pig or a wild boar, any size as long as it's black. Bring me its blood and I will take it to the mountains to bless it and apply it to you, young lady. The pig's body should be placed in front of the tree. After one day, you must bury it.
My parents and relatives immediately searched for a black pig or a wild boar, and fortunately, they found one right away. After we completed the ritual, we returned to the healer the following Friday. However, by then, the healer refused to help us any further. He admitted that he could no longer handle the encanto. He said it was too powerful. He was becoming ill and growing weaker because of his attempts to deal with it. My mother lost all hope at that point. She often cried whenever she saw me because I had grown extremely thin. Since nothing was working, they decided to take me to a doctor again, but still, there was no change in my condition. One day, my eldest sister, Manang Ape, heard about a well-known healer, so we decided to seek treatment there. The moment we entered the healer's house, he was visibly shocked to see me. He shook his head and said,
"Why did you bring her to me only now? The encanto is close to taking her. Just look at her. Some of the hairs on her eyebrows and head are already turning white. Her fingers are darkening, and her complexion is extremely pale. The encanto has also been appearing to you more frequently, hasn't it? No matter where you go, he follows you, watching over you. He desires you greatly, and is determined to take you to his world."
He took some vinegar, prayed over it, and rubbed it on my body while chanting in Latin. Then he told me that the encanto would appear to me again in the coming days.
"You must not close the doors or windows at exactly 6 in the evening," he instructed. "This will allow him to enter. When he appears, you must speak to him and beg him to leave you alone."
After that, he gave me a few leaves. He said that if I ever found myself in the encanto's realm and wanted to leave, I just had to throw the leaves away. I kept those leaves in my pocket at all times, even while I slept. Then one night, at around 9 o'clock, I was alone in my room while my parents and siblings were in the living room watching TV. My door was open so we could still see each other. As I was looking at my mother, I suddenly felt a chilling sensation. And then, out of nowhere, the creature appeared right in front of me. I screamed, which startled my mother and the rest of my family. They rushed to my room in a panic, but suddenly, my surroundings changed. I was engulfed in a blinding light, and before I knew it, I was in a vast empty space. It was just me and the encanto. I couldn't explain it, but I felt strangely light, as if all my pain and worries had vanished. He spoke to me, asking me to come with him, and I did. We walked together, and as we did, the scenery around us slowly transformed. Before long, we were in a breathtakingly beautiful forest. Towering trees surrounded us, their leaves falling like raindrops, creating a mesmerizing effect. Flowers of all kinds filled the air with a sweet, intoxicating fragrance, and birds sang in perfect harmony. The place was so peaceful, so relaxing, it felt unreal. Beyond the massive trees, I caught sight of a city unlike anything I had ever seen before. It was eerily quiet, yet stunning. The buildings were unlike any human structures, more like something out of a fantasy movie. As we walked deeper into the forest, 2 stunningly beautiful women approached us. They were tall, with long, flowing hair. They walked gracefully, as if floating. They welcomed me and continued guiding me through their world, speaking to me in gentle, persuasive voices.
"Our home is beautiful,"
One of them said.
"You are welcome here. Stay with us. This man has loved you for a long time. He has only been waiting for your 18th birthday."
I hesitated before responding. I can't, we're different. I'm human. I can't leave my family behind.
"Come with us."
They insisted.
"Here, you will experience things you've never known in the human world. In our land, there is only joy and happiness."
No, I can't, I said firmly. My parents and siblings will be devastated. They will cry for me.
"You are not a great loss to your mother.
The encanto said.
At first she will grieve, but in time she will accept it."
I shook my head. No, I don't want to go with you. Why did you even choose me? He looked at me with intense eyes and said,
Aside from your beauty, You are different. You are special.
And if you're wondering why he called me special, let me tell you why. My father's mother had the blood of a healer. My grandmother was the youngest among her siblings. All of her brothers and sisters were taught and passed down the knowledge of healing, except for my grandmother, because their parents wanted their youngest child to live a normal life. However, among my grandmother's grandchildren, my sister Manang Ap and I inherited the blood of a healer. But like my grandmother, we wanted to live normal lives, so we were never interested in healing. We never planned to study it or anything related to it. However, my sister and I had one special ability. We could read people's palms. Yes, we could tell fortunes, but we never used this ability on just anyone. And we also had a strong sense of things unseen by the naked eye. Now, back to the story. After that, fear crept into me. I cried and cried, repeatedly saying, I don't want to, it's not possible. They kept trying to convince me. Then I suddenly remembered the leaf the healer had given me, so I took it out of my pocket. The moment I threw it, I instantly found myself back in my room. I was shocked to see my family surrounding me, holding me down while crying. They told me that I had been thrashing around uncontrollably, that I had become extremely strong, screaming, and they couldn't restrain me. Once everything calmed down, we returned to the healer. He told us that the entity would no longer appear, but it would still make its presence felt. I was told to just ignore it because, over time, it would eventually stop. After that, I never experienced the strange pain in my legs and feet again. My body returned to normal, and so did my hair color. Everything became normal once more. At first, I could still feel its presence strongly, but as time passed, by the grace of the Almighty God, the enchantment finally stopped making itself known to me.